Hey, what's up guys? Joker here. Today I'm going to be walking you through my 5 things that I love and hate about the new game Battlefield 1. I am a big fan of this series going all the way back. I've got thousands and thousands of hours logged into games like Bad Company 2, BF3, and BF4. Well, not really Hardline because, well, Hardline was Hardline, but I'm really looking forward to Battlefield 1, and especially, going back into the classic realm of shooters. Well, it's World War 1, but the game really kind of feels like a World War II shooter of old because a lot of, things have been updated a little bit and it's a little bit more modern than I would really expect a World War I game to be. Kind of like the game Verdun, which is more realistic, certainly. But they have done their best to kind of, at least keep the weapons period specific, even though they have taken some liberties to help keep the game fun. And I'm okay with all of that. I'm okay with them, taking some liberties with some of that stuff in order to keep the gameplay fun for people, so I really don't have any complaints about that. But we are going to start this off by going into the 5 things that I absolutely love about Battlefield 1, and then we will go into 5 things that I am not too pleased with about Battlefield 1. So starting off, number 1, Destruction. Destruction is finally back in the Battlefield series of games. It's always, it's been around, but I really felt like after Bad Company 2, which had great destruction where you could really level every building on the map, it kind of took a step backwards a little bit in BF3 and then really took a step back in BF4, so in favor of having more artistic and designed buildings like on Siege of Shanghai, where they put in these really big Levolution events, which looked really cool to watch like once or twice, but beyond that, they just kind of became a nuisance, and I really just wish there was more actual destruction. And, the thing with that is that you need to kind of make all the buildings look the same and, kind of have similar stuff like that if you're going to be reusing textures for destruction. And BF4, they went with more of the artistic view, which made the levels look absolutely gorgeous and have, a lot of different intricate designs, but it kind of detracted from the gameplay, at least as far as the destruction is concerned. So I'm happy to see getting back to being more like Bad Company 2, where we can actually level pretty much all of the buildings on the map. There are some which you still can't take down, either ones coming out of spawn or ones really close to objectives, which makes sense. If I did have to make one complaint about it, I wish that it was a little bit more obvious as to which buildings can or cannot be destroyed, or walls can or cannot be destroyed, because there are times where I've fired shells at buildings and it just doesn't blow up and I'm just like, oh, I guess that building can't be destroyed. Lesson learned. Next up are the graphics, which are absolutely stunning, certainly the best in the history of the franchise, and I really feel like it's very close to Battlefront in a lot of the lighting and texture work that they've done, which looked amazing. That was one of the things they actually nailed on Battlefront, even though I wasn't a big fan of the gameplay in that game at all. The graphics look stunning, and it was very well optimized, and that has continued over here into Battlefield 1, which I expected. But man, just like things like the mud being able to pool up on your gun as your explosions are going off around you, in combination with the destruction and all of that, it just looks fantastic, and it runs great too on all of the cards that I've tested, from the 1060 all the way up to the 1080, including AMD side with the RX 480. This game runs fantastic, even on cards under $300. Next up is the return to skill-based combat. I am so happy that we are getting away from the million different launcher types of BF4 and returning to a skill-based combat system where it is not heavily relying on lock-on weapons, because it really wouldn't make a whole lot of sense if they had lock-on weapons in World War I. So that is an aspect that I absolutely love about this game, that you need to be a little bit more skilled and accurate with your weapons, and you can't rely on scopes a lot of the time, because a lot of the guns are using just iron sights until you get into the higher levels with certain weapons, and other weapons do have scopes, and there's a lot of snipers as a result of this, but I really haven't felt like the game has been an absolute sniper fest yet. I am afraid of that happening once they do introduce a hardcore mode. It could be a lot of snipers in hardcore, but that's really just Battlefield in general. There's always been a lot of snipers on hardcore. Next up is Rush. They have finally made these maps actually feel like Rush maps, even though some of them are really large and wide open, like Sinai on Conquest. It's a very large open map, but they've done a good job of kind of sectioning each one of these maps off to have a very linear design for Rush, which I really felt has been missing since Bad Company 2. There were a few maps here and there in BF3 and BF4, which really worked. I'm thinking of maps like Grand Bazaar, Sen Crossing. What was that one where you jump off the side of the cliff in BF3? I don't know why the name is escaping me right now. But that one, yeah, those were like really good Rush maps they had back in BF3, and there were even fewer in BF4. A lot of the maps felt like they were never made for Rush. It really felt like that game was designed around Conquest. So I'm happy to see that even though some of these maps are big, wide open maps in Conquest, they've done a good job of sectioning them off here for Rush, and I also felt like that was the case with Domination as well. In BF4, I thought some of the maps were too big for Domination, but here I think they've really struck a good balance on Rush and Domination. And lastly, for the things that I'm loving so far about Battlefield 1 is that it is not a modern era shooter. I am so sick of modern era shooters. I know we did World War II games like forever. Like it was, World War II games were arguably done to death. I was never really tired of them, but they were done to death, and I think a lot of people would probably agree with that. But we've gotten away from World War II games for quite a while, and I'm glad to see us going back to that class. I'm sorry to throw this in with World War II, but the combat to me really does feel closer to a World War II game, even though some of the weapons are a little bit more limited than what you see in World War II. The combat is fairly close to World War II shooters, so that's kind of why I balled them together a little bit there. But I'm just happy that we're not in the modern era anymore. I felt like after like Call of Duty 4, which was like the first real popular modern era game, that a lot of the games afterwards, Battlefield, Call of Duty, whatever, all took their cues from that because that's what people wanted and that's what was popular at the time. But I really think that the modern era shooter is starting to get exhausted. That's why we've seen games try to go into like the future, which personally I haven't really seen done to an effect that I really like yet. So I'm glad that we're going back to a classic game, and after this, my next hope is for Bad Company 3 really, but I'd also love to see a new Vietnam game. I don't know, I like classic war scenarios. I think it's a lot more interesting personally than playing in a modern era. You guys can let me know down in the comments below though what you agree with on this positive list and the negative list, which we're going to get into right now. The first thing I want to mention for things that I hate about Battlefield 1 is the server sizes and ticket counts right now I feel are far too low, and without any custom servers, at least in the version of the game that we're able to play at this time, I'm afraid that that's going to continue after the game comes out because it's not going to have standard server rentals like it has in the past. I did a full video about this a few weeks ago where there's not going to be as much custom server optimization and being able to use things like plugins through Procon. Everything is going to kind of be done by EA, and if they do release out servers, it's going to be fairly restricted. They will be able to adjust certain things. I did see ticket count in there as one of the customizable options, so that's good to see because on the default EA servers, on like domination mode, it's like 100 tickets, and the game is over in like 5 minutes. It's just way too quick, and I felt like that on all of the modes. Conquest games, I was seeing something like 5 to 10 minutes tops. On big game modes like that, with where you have like 64 people, I really feel like there should be a few hundred tickets, and even if that's not on the standard default servers from EA, I would like to see that on some of the custom servers that people can rent, because I love playing on really long matches. I like playing on like 1,000 ticket servers, especially when you have 64 people, and that's one of the things I think we need to see also in the other modes like Domination and Rush, where right now it is limited to 24 people on the official servers from DICE and EA, and it just feels like far too few people. 24 is kind of okay on Domination, but I would personally like to see more. But I could live with 24 on that particular mode, but Rush 24 feels like way too limited. I mean, back on Bad Company 2, it was restricted to 32. 32 is okay, but I just really want to see no limitations as far as player size is concerned. Please let us have whatever servers we want based on, if we're renting a server, we should be able to set it to 24, 32, 48, 64, whatever we want. And I just think that will add to the longevity of the game and just make it more enjoyable for everyone so that you can find the server that is tuned to your liking. And that's, one of the best things about Battlefield servers and having the server browser is that you can kind of pick and choose what you like to tune to your playstyle. Next up is microtransactions, which I have never been a fan of in games. I know this is kind of a hot topic, and I really don't like that they have microtransactions built right into the game menus, and makes it feel like you kind of have to go out and spend real world money in order to get these battle packs just to get like custom skins and stuff like that in the game. And if you don't, then you kind of feel like you're missing out on something that other people are having, especially if you come into someone that's got like really cool weapon skins. And I just don't like that aspect of the game. It feels like they're trying to CSGO-ize this game with having like the battle packs and the animations and everything like that. It's just, I really just don't like that aspect of games and having those microtransactions built right into the inherent design of the multiplayer. It kind of makes it feel more like almost like a free-to-play model, in my personal opinion. But once again, everyone's going to have their opinion on this, and feel free to let me know yours down in the comments below. Next up is the skip spawn screen. This is just kind of a little thing, honestly, but it really irks me and gets on my nerves, because after you die, you basically go to a skip spawn screen, which is designed so that you can either decide to wait for a revive or not wait for a revive, which sort of makes sense. But when you're not accepting a revive, you still got to go ahead and hit space on the screen before you get to the redeploy screen, and it just kind of feels like an extra step that's being added into that, and just kind of makes it take longer. I can't tell you how many times I've been sitting there and didn't realize that I had to hit space bar again, and I was just waiting to respawn, and I could have respawned ages ago. So it's just an extra step that I really don't feel like it needs to be there. The skip spawn thing could have easily been on the map redeploy screen, which I think is actually great. I love the map redeploy screen that they've done here, where you can actually see the top of the battlefield and get an idea of everything that's going on over the entire battlefield, and then pick your deploy point. They did a good job with that. But it's just like I said, it's a little thing. I'm not gonna like burn dice at the stake for this, but I just think that screen doesn't need to be there. It's just an extra step that doesn't have to exist. Next up is the game menus and the server browser, which is rather frustrating to use right now. It really feels like they took this interface and ripped it out of a console and put it on the PC. I know Battlelog wasn't everyone's favorite thing to use in the past, having to use a web browser for this stuff, but I still think it was a lot better than what's in this game right now, because it feels like it's straight out of Battlefront. It basically is right out of Battlefront, and the server browser is really annoying to use. A lot of the times I'll just see servers completely blank with zeros, even though I have no filters selected at all, and you basically have to go in there and select all the filters just to see any servers show up whatsoever. So I just think they need to kind of maybe optimize this a little bit and also add in more information. I found it rather difficult to find things like battle packs, and I didn't see any soldier customization in there in the menus. I don't know, maybe it's hidden and I couldn't find it, but again, that's just kind of proves my point of how unintuitive the menu system really is at this point. They've kind of tried to modernize it and make it more minimalistic, and at first glance it looks nice, it looks modern, but actually trying to use it and its functionality, I feel, is a little bit limiting to what I'd like to use it for. Last up for things I am hating right now in Battlefield 1 are the bugs. Bugs are back. Certainly they have not gone away entirely. I was playing in the Battlefield 1 single player, and I think I encountered like 3 or 4 bugs which pretty much halted my progress in the span of like 20-30 minutes the other night on a live stream. I had gotten a tank and stuck on an invisible wall. One of the soldiers got stuck inside the tank on the other team. There was one point that I got to where the enemy, the Germans had a light tank which was completely glitched on the outskirts of the map, and it wasn't coming into the combat area. So I had to basically go out and it took me quite a while to find the vehicle so that I could take it out and then proceed with the level, and you could see that he was just stuck on like a piece of cover. So it's just little bugs like that. And then also in the multiplayer, a lot of the legacy bugs are still there, like the phantom reload animation. And also I've been having a lot of issues with the medic pack, as well as the large ammo pack, where I will constantly be hitting 3 on my keyboard to throw this thing down, and my guy does the animation where he throws his arm forward to drop the medic pack or the ammo pack on the ground, and nothing happens. And I can't tell you how many times I've died sitting in cover trying to get a medic pack down onto the ground, only for it to not work because of, I don't know, dice being dice. I really don't know on that one. Hopefully that's something that they get patched post-release, but right now, as of the time of making this video on October 17th, with the game coming out in just over 7 hours here on the East Coast where I live for Deluxe Edition owners, I don't see it being fixed in that period of time, so hopefully post-launch they do continue to fix this game, because they did a great job post-launch with Battlefield 4, getting that game working up to snuff. So hopefully they do continue that with good support on Battlefield 1. One takeaway I could say is that the game is certainly in better shape right now than it was when Battlefield 4 came out, by a long shot. Like, Battlefield 4, when that game came out, was a friggin' nightmare. So compared to that, I mean, this is like an 11 on a scale of 1 to 10 compared to BF4, because that game was just so inherently broken, from its netcode to its mechanics and everything else. And even they improved it, but it was never really got to a perfect state. And I think BF1 is in a pretty good place right now for them to continue to work on the game and improve on these little bit of bugs here and there, and maybe just make some improvements as the game goes on and has a long life cycle, hopefully, at least here on the PC, and we could always find games to get into. But I'm going to go ahead and get out of here. Please let me know your thoughts down in the comments below, as I'm sure many of you will, and I'm sure there's going to be a lot of, discussion and disagreements, on some of the things I said, and, it's really just my opinion. That's all this is the opinion of someone who's been playing the Battlefield games since the beginning, and that's all it is. It's just my opinion. Everyone's going to have their own, and I look forward to discussing those down with you in the comments below. This is in no way meant to, be, the law. This is not Bible here this is not scripture that I'm preaching to you saying that this is the way it is, and if this doesn't get fixed, then the game sucks. That's not what I'm saying here. I still love Battlefield. I'm still going to play the shit out of Battlefield 1. So I'm a big fan of the franchise. So I hope that, hope this video went over well with you guys, and no one gets too upset with, some of the things I mentioned, because there's always that one thing and that one guy who will just, I don't know, you'll say like one little thing and it'll just like, oh man, the rest of the video may as well not even exist because you said this one little thing that I disagreed with or something. So anyway, like I said, I'm going to get out of here. Let me know your thoughts down in the comments, and I will catch you next time.